Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Aliens versus Avengers number one. This is a new book from Marvel Comics and 20th Century Studios. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Jonathan Hickman with art by Asad Ribic, colors by Yves Vorsina, letters by Corey Petit, main cover by Asad Ribic, and of course we'll have a few more variant covers at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. This is it. This is the event that we have been waiting for, and I am very, very excited. First of all, I just want to give big shout out to Jay Bowen on design. Like this AVA logo, like just it's fantastic stuff. I love it. It looks so cool. Like just one of my favorite things out of like just anything that's going on in this comic. So in this issue, aliens and Avengers face off. It's all led to the xenomorphs reach Earth. The perfect organism meets the planet of superhumans. Who will be the first to fall? Legendary collaborators Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic cut loose in this four-part epic, unmissable for Marvel Comics and Alien fans alike. Yeah, this is very exciting. As somebody, especially because there's a lot of like alien talk in the atmosphere at the moment, because with the release of Romulus, people revisiting some of the other films. I think the Alien comics have been consistently coming out since since they launched post acquisition. So yeah, it's all very very cool, and of course reuniting Hickman and Ribic, who did some amazing stuff with the Secret Wars storyline. That just really really works. Everything kind of falls into place. This is a four-part miniseries. The issue, at least the first issue, is a little bit longer than normal. So you're definitely getting a lot of bang for your buck in this story, I think. Of course, if you buy a bunch of variant covers, like I probably will, then yeah, it's not gonna come out as much. But uh, it is interesting what Jonathan Hickman's doing here. We are obviously dealing with a different continuity. This is, of course, not happening on the main continuity, at least not as far as I know. Everything here seemed to point to something else, but it is very interesting how the team, and especially the narrative, manages to very much mimic something we would see on an alien film, right? We have a little bit of this mystery going on, and things begin to unravel very quickly, especially as soon as the creatures start showing up on the page. I love the pacing of this book. And then I wish I had recorded my reaction to reading the last few pages of this book, because I can tell that I know I was grinning from ear to ear because it's just some really cool stuff, very cool reveals. Like it's all just like really fun stuff for a fan of Marvel and aliens alike. So yeah, I really really enjoyed this issue. I think it's that Rivig's art is great. Um, I think in the past I've talked a little bit about how his faces all kind of have a very distinct look, and I think that's just part of Ribic's artistic style. So that's the only thing that every time I kind of come back to Ribic's work, that's one of the things that I kind of check in on. So it's really fun to see how things have evolved in this one. And I think when it comes to drawing the creatures, Ribic does such a good job. It really fits the painterly like colors that are brought in here as well by Servino. Like just really work. Everything comes together very quickly, very fun. The characters that Hickman and the team have picked out for the story are also very interesting, and also the fact that it takes place in what I would call like a possible kind of future. So I won't go into any more details. I don't want to fully spoil the book. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video on like what just happened. If you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments. But let's take a look at some of the art just to kind of start wrapping things up. As I mentioned, Izar Ribic, just really good stuff. We see a Kree warrior. He's been experimented on. We see these beings that look like they are from the Shi'ar Empire, but there's always one of the fun things about the Alien franchises are just the reveals. So stay tuned for how that plays out here. And then we have Wakandans showing up to pretty much figure out what the heck is going on. So yeah, I love that. I love the appearance here. I won't go too much into detail as to who these characters are as well, but it will give you a quick. I think Hickman very smartly gives you like uses this introduction also to kind of put things into perspective as a narrative, like where this is taking place in the timeline or a possible timeline. So yeah, these guys just know how to do comics very well, and it works. At least it works for me. Like I said, the last few pages just brought me so much joy as I was reading them, and that's kind of what I love about comic books. So, hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Chasm, Curse of Cain #1. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative team before we get into this book. This book is written by Steve Fox with art by Andrea Boccardo, colors by Brian Reber, and letters by Joe Caramagna. And this is bringing two of Peter's clones together into a story once again. Now, of course, Ben Reilly, after everything that he's been through in the past few years, has become the character Chasm. We also see the return of the Scarlet Spider Cain, who is my favorite version of the clones. Like, he's my favorite clone of Peter's. I really have enjoyed following him along. We don't get to see him a lot, but when he does show up, I definitely go out and, just pick up the books, support the books because I want to see more Cain. So, Marvel editorial, if you're watching, I'm reading the books with Cain in them, so make sure to give us some more. So in this issue, Battle of the Clones, Cain Parker is on a mission to track down his fellow clone Ben Reilly, but has becoming Chasm made Ben beyond saving, or is there even more of a menacing presence pulling the string? Yeah, we definitely see there's something else going on with Ben Reilly. I think this book. So first of all, we have Hallows Eve, who is another one of my just a really fun character that's been introduced very recently. Uh, she is Chasm's girlfriend, and they kind of just they go around just living their best life. Really, that's the best way I can explain it. They're not superheroes, but they definitely go in and they punch things in the night. They save people, but they do it at their own discretion, at their own. They definitely always get something out of it, so that's really fun to see because they're not your typical superheroes. Even though people obviously think that Chasm is a Spider-Man, right? There's so many running around. I would also think that. Now, Brocardo's art, if I remember correctly, I've seen in some of the Aliens books, which was a lot of fun. So really interesting to see that work being translated over to more of the superhero stuff. We do get to see some like creatures that are uh, pretty horrifying, but I just when it comes to the character designs, Chasm and both Chasm and the Scarlet Spider look so cool. Like yeah, I'm really glad to see when an artist that I like kind of gets put on their books because I want to see their interpretation. The story is very interesting. There's definitely a mystery here, and I know that these two will eventually come to clash because that's what books like this is all about. But I'm in it for the ride. I'm in it to see the interactions between them because it's almost like a sibling relationship, but always kind of like a messed up family type of thing. So that's always interesting to read. So let's go take a look at some of the preview pages here. Uh, of course, we have some teenagers that are going to some underground rave and they get attacked in the subway. And here comes a Spider Man, maybe not. It's actually Chasm and Hallows Eve who are there to help, maybe. But yeah, just like I said, really cool creature designs. I love the flexibility of Hallows Eve and how, her appearance changes with every mask that she puts on. Chasm's outfit, I actually really like. I know some people are not you like what you like, I guess, but I enjoy it. I think it looks cool. So yeah, and this is just kind of the beginning. Ricardo's really good at a lot of these fights and just these dynamic poses that you need when you're drawing a Spider-Man book. And then of course, like I said, Kane eventually comes along. We also have some mysteries revealed, or mysteries planted actually, not fully revealed. We do get to see a little bit of some of that stuff, but I also really like the relationship between Ben and between Cassim and Hallows Eve. So that's always fun. It's kind of like introducing, your girlfriend to your brother or something like that, which we'll probably see in later issues. Now, I'm not sure when Kane got his scars back in his face, but that's something that I thought we were past with it. It's not like the fully scarred Kane, but it's definitely not the handsome Peter Ben Riley look. So interesting stuff. Very excited for it though. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Phases of the Moon Knight #1. This is a new book and a new series from Marvel Comics. Let's talk about the creative teams before we get into this book. So this book has two stories, and it looks like if you look above, I believe it looks like 12 faces of the moon. I'm not an astrologist, so I'm not sure. That may be the number of issues that we're going to get from this. But each one of them looks like we'll follow a different Moon Knight. So we have the Ones and Future story by Erica Schultz with Manuel Garcia on pencils, Sean Parsons on inks, Ceci de la Cruz on colors. And then we have the Crusader story by Benjamin Percy with art by Rod Reese. Both stories lettered by Corey Petit. So yeah, this book is interesting. There's a lot of things in flux, I think, right now with Moon Knight, right? The Vengeance of the Moon Knight is wrapping up after all the events from Blood Hunt. So, in this issue, illuminating Lost Lunar lore, though he is among the most recent, Mark Spector is far from the first Fist of Khonshu. The true history and depth of the legacy of the Moon Knight has been shrouded in mystery of antiquity until now, featuring an awesome assembly of creators from the industry. Faces of the Moon Knight begins to give you these stories. So yeah, really cool stuff. We get to see a little bit of behind the stories of other people that have donned the Moon Knight mantle that are not Mark. Let's talk about the first story because I think it's gonna be easier if I just kind of show you the art along with that. So let me see here. Here we have from the Ones in Future Night, and this is a little bit of spoilers for Vengeance of the Moon Knight, but we see the Shroud, who is this is the first story is about the Shroud, and kind of how he became the Moon Knight that we saw at the beginning of Vengeance of the Moon Knight. This is the Erica Schultz story here. I found this really interesting, especially all the way like this really fills in the gap a little bit and expands on the story and the lore of everything leading up to Blood Hunt. So that was really really fun. Next we have, of course, I this is the Crusader story by Rod Reese and Benjamin Percy, two of my favorite creators coming together for this, and this gives us an all new Moon Knight in the Marvel universe, the Moon Knight of the old Crusades, forged in the crucible of a holy war. What long forgotten secrets of the Marvel universe are waiting to be discovered in his saga. Now, this is really cool. I love the first appearance of Moon Knight. Obviously, the Crusaders have their own beliefs, right? So meeting Khonshu, a different god, like just makes the story very interesting. Also, there's a lot of violence in this one. We also have a really cool surprise cameo by a mutant that's been around for a long time. I'll just say that Benjamin Percy is very familiar with writing. So, yeah, this book was a lot of fun. I can't wait to see, first of all, what other creative teams are brought into this book. What other types of Moon Knights we get to meet. So yeah, I'm gonna be following this series. Probably, hopefully, I can do videos like this. And then, if you know how many faces there are to the moon, maybe there's 24. No, I believe 12. 12 makes more sense. I don't know. You guys let me know. Maybe somebody shout out, reach out to Neil deGrasse Tyson or something. But let me know how many issues you think we're going to get of this, because if each one of these issues covers two of them, and it's either 12 or 24 phases of the moon, we may get a 6 to 12 issue series. So who knows? I don't know. Really fun stuff for Marvel Editorial, though. I really think they nailed it with this. Hello, everyone. Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Berserker, The Lost Book of B #1. This is a new book from Boom Studios. Let's talk about the creative team as the original team reunites here. This is written by Keanu Reeves. That's right, that Keanu Reeves and Matt Kent. And you know what? Yeah, that Matt Kent. Illustrated by Ron Garney with colors by Bill Crabtree and letters by Clem Robbins. Of course, main cover by Ron Garney and Matt Kent, which you can see here. And we'll see some other covers at the end of the book, including the cover that I picked up, which is the cover A foil variant. So this is the Matt Kent Garney cover, but it's foil all the way around. So really cool stuff. All right, this is a reuniting of the team, right? We know that Berserker is a pretty popular property now. I think people are very excited about the upcoming live action and animation adaptations that are coming. Of course, anything involving Keanu Reeves, I think people are going to be excited. So in this book, we follow B, who is the character that we've been following all throughout Berserker. You don't need to have read all of Berserker, but you kind of need to know at least the concept that he is this unkillable, immortal warrior type of character. So, in the 13th century, the Berserker serves as the ultimate weapon of the legendary Genghis Khan, and it seems that no enemy of the great warlord can stand against such an onslaught and havoc of death. But the war grows larger than B could have ever imagined, and he must question where his loyalties truly lie. Discover an epic new chapter in the Immortal Saga, revealing the untold secrets behind wider Berserker universe. So there's definitely a lot of little stories and strings that are being pulled here, which is really fun. So yeah, we have series creator and legendary actor Keanu Reeves returning to co-write with New York Times bestselling author Matt Kent, and of course, legendary artist Ron Garney, reuniting the original team for the first time since the record-breaking original series concluded. I think the first series was about, I think, 11 or 12 issues, so there's really not a lot to catch up on. But we have been getting these almost quarterly one shots that are really fun because the character that is so flexible as an immortal warrior, you can really put him in pretty much any time and era, and as long as he doesn't die, so you can't really kill him to end the story. So most of these timelines are definitely possible. And Ron Garney, of course, draws the coolest fights, the coolest designs when it comes to like some of these legendary warriors. A lot of really cool unmitigated violence, so that's really fun to see. So yeah, very exciting. I love these one shots, especially because I get to pick up like these really cool foil covers. But it all really works for me. I love the Berserker series. I think it's really fun, and it's something that I want to see more of. And I'm glad that we keep getting all these little one shots. Boom Studios definitely knows that they have a winner. So let's take a look at some of the preview art so you can see some of Garney's designs. As you can see here, we get a little bit of the narration from this character who is part of an order that's been following B around. And that's kind of where this book elaborates a little bit more on the mythology of the character. I won't go too much into details because I don't want to spoil anything, but just look, I really love the coloring, the lighting of this book. The tone feels very somber, very serious. And then, like I said, super violent. Like it could just get real violent. There's in this last page, they're tossing B into a boiling cauldron. Now, obviously, they know that he can't die, but he is weaker when while he's healing. So yeah, it's all very interesting, very smartly done. But the reason he is a berserker is because he can go berserker, and then there's an extra level of power. So just make sure to check out the main series if you want more information on some of those details. Really cool stuff. Really enjoying this. These little one shots are so much fun. Really great. Also, quality books, like even the main cover, even if it's not the foil cover, like you still get a lot of pages. So yeah, I'm always excited to buy these books. So let's move on because we got a lot to talk about. We have a very cool comic review this week. Something that I didn't even realize it was coming out this week until I started putting my list together and I saw the what do you call them, the previews that we got for this week. So big shout out to our friends over at Image who
What?
sent us who sent have you guys did you guys read the other ones, the other Universal Monsters stuff,
I
the
did not
Creature
get
from Black Lagoon?
Dracula. I did read Preacher from Black Lagoon.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Dracula is fantastic. If you haven't read it, go back and read it. But today we'll be talking about Universal Monsters Frankenstein #1. This
That
is a new
cover
comic.
is so beautiful.
So
Yeah.
good, so good. Uh, let's talk about the creative team before we get into this. This is written and drawn by Michael Walsh, who you may know from the anthology over at Image as well, called The Silver Coin, as well as so many other things. Fantastic artist. I think he started as an artist, but he's a storyteller now, so it works great. With colors by Tony Marie Griffin and letters by Becca Carey. Uh, Let me give you a quick synopsis, and then we'll get into your actual thoughts. A modern day horror visionary resurrects one of the most iconic monsters. Award-winning creator Michael Walsh presents an electrifying, pun probably fully intended there from my image, new vision of the horror classic. Each each issue of the limited series tells the shocking story behind one of the body parts used to create the unforgettable monster in the original film. In this issue, Dr. Henry Frankenstein begins his unholy quest to create life by robbing the grave of a decorated police officer, but little does he know that the corpse has a son who's mourning after the father, and that this young boy will forever change Frankenstein's life. Now, do they mean the monster or the doctor?
The Doctor.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Oh, whoops. So, Clay, we'll go to you first. What did you think of this book?
The art is perfect. I mean, it is. I would say I would compare it to like Mike Mignola from Hellboy. That it's perfect tone for this story. It almost feels like he's recreated the movie on page with some of the shots, some of the panels, and then recreating the film with this boy who's trying to find his father's body, which is so creepy and so unsettling. And then you have this kid who's discovering what Dr. Frankenstein is doing. It's just a great slow build of just tension and horror. I really loved it.
All right, Jeff. What about you?
Samesies. The artwork is fantastic. It definitely made me want to go back and watch the movie.
Yeah.
Which is and is definitely based off the movie, not the book. Because I've read the book earlier this year, and I watched the movie, but there was still some parts where I was like, oh, this definitely made me, yeah, I want to go back and rewatch because it is lifted straight from the movie. There are some scenes from the movie that are in this comic. Um, and it's really cool what he's doing is that he's just adding this little layer to the movie, uh, and telling this little story around that. Super creepy, very scary. Like comics aren't, there's just something ethereal about the art where you're like, oh, that's creepy and scary. It's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that page gave me oh my gosh, who's the great horror artist? Wrightson, Bernie Wrightson vibes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
See
definitely.
that? It. I also really enjoy this. I didn't read the synopsis prior to reading, so I didn't know like each issue was gonna focus on a different body part. I just thought I was like, oh, what a cool concept. We're looking at like where the body parts came from, and then we have this kid who's recently lost his father, and that was cool. Like, and then when you get to the castle and you get to see, I think the color wash does a lot here too. Like, just makes it look so cool, and it captures the tone of the what I want to see in a Frankenstein. It's not black and white, but it kind of feels like it's black and white.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, and just like the doctor, obviously just great characterization of like this just true villain, right? Of like he has one goal in mind and he doesn't care what happens. Like when people storm his castle and he starts to race up the thing, and like the creature comes to life. Very very cool. And then
Also, like it's a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Disney.
I was
I'm
just
sorry.
saying that there's some touching moments, which is not something I was expecting from this type of book. But yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, just to kind of pivot off that touching moments part, like I feel like some of these Universal monsters are so old that it's hard to tell a horror story with them because we're so like used to mutants that live in the Tennessee hills or whatever. Like horror is different today than it was
Yeah,
back then.
yeah.
So there is something very horrific if you're a little kid and your father dies and then a part of his body gets taken to create some like attached to a thing that is unliving and moving around. Like that is horrific, like from that little kid's point of view. And there's some times when he's like hiding from the people around him and you see like all the dead body parts like just kind of strewn about. I'm just like, yeah, this is good horror stuff, you know?
Yeah. There's a sequence where like you just kind of see it's all about the little details in this book, and there's like an oil drum full of body parts just
Yeah.
sticking out, and like I would love to see more of the lab, like just the castle, I guess, or whatever. But it's fantastic. It's really I really enjoy the other two. I've been reading them all, so like the Creature from the Black Lagoon really works as a sequel to the movie, which I want to go back and rewatch. Frankenstein or Dracula, just like it's so horrific and beautiful, but it's just kind of very restrained too. It's not even really about Dracula up until like that maybe the last issue. But this one, they feel like they kind of went head first. No pun intended. But
They
yeah,
really
it's
stuck
great.
their neck out.
Really, yeah, for sure. So really cool stuff.
What do you think that castle smells like?
Oh, rank.
Oh, death
Rank.
times 10.
I think it smells like flowers.
I hope they explain why his head is flat.
I mean, he would have used something to preserve some of those bodies, so
it's like formaldehyde and roses.
So it depends on the science of the time, but I feel like the formaldehyde would just be so thick and the stench.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other thoughts on this? If not, I'll show you guys some really cool covers that you'll want to pick up.
Yeah, let's see the covers.